All right, everybody, welcome back to another ShareWise webinar. Today we're joined by Gino with Askari Metals. This is the second webinar we've done. We caught up, probably would have been 2 or 3 months ago now, but obviously they've got some really exciting news. And the main topic we'll talk about is obviously the rights issue announcement to fund the project, right? So I'm just going to ask a few questions. I've got some questions that I'm curious about. Anyone in the audience that is also keen to ask some questions, just write them in the chat and I'll get to them at the end. But I'll go through my questions first. I'll let Gino take the stage and answer them. And anything we haven't touched on, as I said, just chuck it in the chat and we'll touch on that at the end. So if you wanted to share your screen there, Gino, and I'm happy to ask a few questions from there.
Perfect. No, thanks very much, Luke, and thanks for hosting the webinar this morning as well.
No worries.
So I'm just going to share just a few slides from the presentation, but as you progress through the questions, I'll revert to the information on the slides as well, just to give some context to the listeners as well this morning.
Yeah, perfect. No worries. Now, my first question was in regards to the rights issue announcement. Now, how will that $1.5 million that was raised be allocated across the Nejo drilling campaign and other corporate needs?
Yeah, so the company decided to use a rights issue to raise the capital, really on the basis that we could actually avoid dilution to our existing shareholder group on the basis that they take up their rights. Speaking to like-minded investors and certainly investors on the top 50 shareholders list, there's certainly an incentive and an interest in terms of supporting the rights issue itself. It's very attractively priced and structured. It's priced at 1 cent. Stock's currently trading at 1.4, and you get a 1-for-1 free attaching option on a listed series option. And you also get a 1-for-1 option on a 1.5 cent strike as well. So as I mentioned, it's very attractively priced. And we selected that kind of structure on the basis that we wanted to make sure that existing shareholders did get the ultimate benefit of being able to participate in this capital raise for the company. Because, I mean, on the basis of how the funds are going to be utilized, we expect to see quite a sharp re-rate in the shares on the basis of the news flow that's going to be coming through in the coming months. So to go towards your question specifically, how's the money going to be utilized? Of course, the large majority of that money is going to be put towards funding exploration at the Nejo project. So on the 20th of this month, we'll be looking at initiating our first reconnaissance exploration program. That exploration program, it's going to be approximately a 3-week campaign. And the basis of that work is really to go through on those southern licenses. So what we call that Guji Gudea belt, that trend, and also the Galiso trend, which is, these are 2 trends that run parallel to the Tulukapi main mineralized strike. So for us, they're very important mineralized trends. But why they've been I suppose why they've elevated to the top of the food chain, so to speak, is because they've had so much historical exploration work undertaken on them by the prior owners of the project. Now, in addition to focusing on the high-grade shallow gold mineralization on that southern license, the company's also going to be running a campaign which is focused on the high-grade copper that's been identified up in what we call the Kata region. Which it's an interesting target for the company. It's prolific outcropping copper gossans, which kind of lends itself to potentially a VMS style of mineralization. So there's a lot of exploration upside at the Nejo project. So for our investors, for our shareholders, it's only natural and it only makes sense for the large majority of that money to be allocated towards exploration on that project. But running concurrently with the exploration at Nejo, what we're also looking to do is at our OIS project in Namibia, looking at kicking off with soils and stream sediment surveys on our most northern license there, what we call EPL 7626. Now that work is going to consist of, as I mentioned, soils and stream sediment surveys, but focusing on tin, tantalum, and rubidium mineralization, as well as looking for lithium kickers in there as well. OIS has demonstrated itself to be a polymetallic project, and it's a very strategic one for the company, given that it's directly south and along strike of the Andrada OIS tin mine. Now, balancing all of the exploration work, of course, the company itself has its corporate needs and administrative costs as well will also be covered through that rights issue funding. But one of the other points that I wanted to make to listeners this morning as well is obviously running alongside that rights issue is that transaction that we announced with Forestania Resources to sell our Burra Copper and Gold project in the wheat belt of Western Australia. So that'll bring the company $250,000 in cash. And we've fixed the number of shares that the company is going to be receiving. The share valuation at the moment is worth about $600,000. So there's approximately $850,000 in cash and tradable securities there, which will very much complement what's been raised under the rights issue. And it'll leave the company in a very well-funded position that we can then take a very aggressive view of not only exploration at Nejo, but also what we're looking to do at OIS, and also potentially build up our exploration strategy in Southern Africa as well as we look at evaluating other opportunities also.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, yeah. Now, my second question was, what is the expected cost breakdown for the approximately 3,000-meter maiden drill program at the Guji Conto 1 and 2?
Yeah, so it's a good question again. So, I mean, this first drill campaign, we're going to be looking at just doing some very simple RC drilling. We're not going to roll the diamond rigs in just yet. We will roll the diamond rigs in due course to get a really good understanding of the structures of the mineralization. But for what we want to do now, we're essentially starting with a known point of information. So, validating some of that historical drilling. And then stepping out from that. So we'll obviously be stepping out along strike as we move north and south away from those known prospects. And we'll also then be stepping sort of fence line holes, drilling to the east and to the west as well. So the idea behind that is that obviously we want to validate the information that's been historically generated. But also we want to move quite aggressively and quickly towards trying to delineate that maiden resource. And we definitely see Guji, Comto 1 and Comto 2 as being the initial starter for Askari as far as the resource estimation is concerned. That Guji, Comto 1, Comto 2, it sits on a structure which is called the Guji Gudea trend. Now, that trend is circa 9 kilometers of strike, mineralized strike along the whole strike length, but it remains open in both directions, north and south. So definitely, there's a lot more drilling than just the 3,000 meters that's been planned initially. Hence the idea behind bringing on a diamond rig shortly thereafter. But the company is going to be very much focused on initially drilling out that strike. So not just the 3 known prospects, but also joining the prospects together where there's been a lot of trenching work done, but there hasn't been a lot of follow-up drilling. So there is certainly the area of focus for the company and certainly the upside as far as we see it for us being able to, I say monetize that project. And I use the term monetize, not in terms of sale, but in terms of actually being able to develop it towards that maiden resource. From a cost perspective, we will look to spend circa $500,000 to $750,000 on this initial 3,000-meter campaign. But of course, that'll include our geologists' time in the field, and it'll also include the assay costs associated with the gold. We'll also be assaying for copper and antimony as well, because as I mentioned before, there's a lot of different mineralization types that are in I suppose, in the matrix there at the Nejo project. So we want to make sure that different to the way that exploration was handled in the past, where it was very much either gold or copper focused. You didn't tend to see a lot of multi-assay work being done. We certainly want to obviously approach this with a multi-element analysis. And certainly I mentioned gold, copper, antimony because we're seeing a lot of that style of mineralization in the rocks. But we're also seeing the potential for PGEs as well. So as I mentioned, lots of exploration upside. We're excited to stick our teeth into it. It's going to be our first opportunity to actually get boots on the ground and be able to move aggressively. And having funding behind us is going to be critical to our ability to execute on that strategy as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Now, how will the company measure success from this initial campaign, Gino?
Yeah, so what I want to point to is if we just have a look at this slide that's on the screen now. So this is the I'm not sure you can see my cursor moving there as well. This is the Guji Gudea trend here. This is the Giliso trend over on this side here. So our initial exploration campaign is going to be focused on, well, this reconnaissance campaign, I should say, which is starting on the 20th of this month, will be focused on this trend over here and this trend here. As I mentioned before, these are the same trends that run parallel with the main Tulukapi mineralization, which hosts the Tulu mine itself, 1.7 million ounces. Now, in terms of how we're going to be measuring success, the best measure of success for the company, of course, is we progress with the drilling program, validating the historical holes, getting results that mirror or near mirror the results that have been generated in the past, and are then able to step away from, as I said before, step away from those known areas of information, and prove up that mineralization, not just along strike, but in between the prospects themselves as well. So certainly that's going to be the first measure of success. Second measure of success for us is going to be then getting a handle on being able to actually model some of these exploration results against the historical drilling that's been done and the historical trenching and rock sampling as well, and start to build more of a 3D geometry model for the mineralization as well. That's when the company is going to really be able to identify where it is that we think we can go in terms of scale and size for an initial resource. So this first campaign is going to be what the only way that I can describe is going to be an all education campaign, right? In terms of us being able to do our own exploration, complementing what's been done in the past, but also expanding upon what's been done in the past. And when I say expanding upon it, I talk about those drilling in different directions and gridding out the drill holes, but also multi-element assay analysis as well. And then, of course, building on a 3D model. I think that's when the company can really take a view on, okay, this is a potential scale. We've got I suppose we've got no limit towards our number of prospects on the license. And so for the company, it really is around, okay, let's get into the field. Let's move really aggressively with our exploration because the gold market is running phenomenally hot at the moment in US dollar terms. And we obviously want to be able to take advantage of that and certainly take advantage of the fact that Ethiopia is an emerging jurisdiction, and that there is an abundance of very high grade copper, gold, as well as other silver, zinc, lead deposits in the region that haven't seen a lot of modern exploration, and certainly haven't seen a lot of exploration over the last sort of 8 to 10 years either. So that really is the opportunity for the company. The other point that I wanted to mention as far as measuring success from these campaigns is also what we're looking to do up at the Kata area up in the north as well. And I'm sure shareholders and listeners potentially recall, sorry, as I pan through the slides, potentially they recall this cross section from the Kata area. And I've only put 2 holes up on this section, hole 3 and 4, but hole 3 in particular hit a very high grade mineralized section of that copper gossan, 14.3 meters at 3.2% copper, but that hole ended in mineralization. So we want to complement what we're doing in the south, which is focused on the gold exploration, with also running concurrent programs up in the north. Now, our initial campaign, as I mentioned, is going to be mapping and sampling of those gossans because they historically identified 6 copper-bearing gossans, but there is the likelihood that there is significantly more than just the 6. But also, when we actually look to execute our first drill campaign on the copper targets, I mean, it's a very obvious target, hole number 3, because it ended in mineralization. They pulled the hole early. It didn't hit the footwall of the mineralized zone. For the company, it's a simple case of, okay, let's step across a few meters, let's drill that hole again, and let's push it all the way through to the end of that mineralized section. So these are all the ways that the company is going to be measuring success from our exploration campaigns in the field. Now, one of the other, I suppose, strategies that we're going to be opening up, which hasn't been done. What it was done in the 1970s with on a very basic level, and that's geophysics. Running magnetics across the project area. It's 1,200 square kilometers, right? It's a district scale land holding, so it's significant. It's very large land position. Um, Geophysics is going to be a key towards identifying further targets for the company as well. So we're going to obviously um, just position ourselves to do the geophysics in stages, because for us, we want to be able to identify those targets which are priority A's and priority B's, using the geophysics to really hone in on those mineralized corridors, but also using geophysics to identify that big gap in the exploration data in that central license there, where there's not been a lot of work done, but it's on the same mineralized trends, the same geology, same rock sequences. We've got the belief that there's a number of targets there, copper, gold, antimony, PGEs on that central target as well. And geophysics is going to be a great tool to utilize to be able to cover a lot of ground very quickly, which we can then field test as well. So you can take from what I've just said that the company's got a very strong exploration pipeline as far as Nejo is concerned. You can certainly appreciate that there's a lot of work that we're looking to get started with. So definitely these first exploration campaigns, these first drilling campaigns, they are literally the first. And we will be significantly building on that as we progress. And so this funding, it's a great start for the company, but it also means that we can get some early runs on the board, and we can also capitalize on the exploration success and bring more funding to the table as well.
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes sense. So obviously operating in Ethiopia, what are the logistical and regulatory challenges of operating in Ethiopia, and how is Askari mitigating them?
Yes, so I mean, Ethiopia, as I mentioned before, it is an emerging district, right? It's exploration from a rare metals and also from precious metals perspective. It is in its early stages of us really garnering international attention. In the 2010s, 2011 period, you had a lot of major companies operating there, Newmont, Anglo Gold Ashanti. So some very significant companies were operating their projects predominantly up in the Tigray, targeting those VMS style deposits. And then you had this gap in exploration. You had a real sort of hiatus period where there wasn't a lot of activity taking place for a number of reasons. Now, you're starting to see a lot more stability come through in Ethiopia. The government's taken a very strong view on what exploration and mining can do for the country from an earnings perspective, particularly on the basis of we've got very high copper, gold prices and other commodity prices. Our bulk material prices are very high at the moment as well. So you're seeing the government put a lot of emphasis on fostering exploration and fostering mine development as well. Allied Gold, the Kermuk mine, is a case of a very good example of that, because that's seen a lot of government support. Now, in terms of the nuances of operating in Ethiopia, realistically, operating in Africa, it does come down to who your partners are, who is your team, how are they connected, and how are they able to make sure that you've got a level of security around you as far as the projects are concerned. So we've been immensely busy the last 4 or 5 weeks, and the reason why we've been so busy is it's been a lot of front end meetings, a lot of front end administrative style support meetings to make sure the project had everything in place that needed to be in place in order to execute the exploration strategy. We came out of those meetings with all the support that we need, with all the approvals that we needed to have in place. We've had a number of community level meetings now as well with stakeholders there that are very supportive of seeing a level of exploration and activity return to the areas around them. So we mitigate our risks by being on the front foot. We don't look to hide or fly underneath the radar. We look to take those challenges or take those meetings front on, and make sure that the profile, the branding of Askari is known synonymously within the regulatory environment in Ethiopia, but also within the community. We're fortunate enough that we've opened up our office now in Ethiopia as well. So we're hosting a number of meetings on, I call it home soil, which means that we can entertain them and that we can also be far more candid with them than you would otherwise expect to be able to hold in the meetings within the government offices. So that's been a big help, and certainly has been appreciated from them on their side because they've been able to get a level of interaction on the project, which I don't think they've been able to get historically, and certainly enabling them to meet the heads of the company has been incredibly important to them as well. It's something that's seen as a very high level of respect between the authorities and the company to have that level of interaction and association. And we've been able to sort of handle those meetings by also educating them on what we want to do as far as the project, short term, medium term, and long term. And so it's been really quite a good opportunity for the company to look at taking those meetings front on. And as I said, and it's main that we've garnered all the support that's required, and hence the reason why we can move confidently towards the not just this initial exploration campaign, but the drilling, the geophysics, and sort of follow on exploration down the pipe as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, what historical data supports the high priority targets at Nejo, and how will modern exploration techniques improve confidence moving forward?
Yeah, sure. So I was just going to pivot back a couple of slides, right? So this is the Guji, Comto 1 and Comto 2 zones. And so you can see there's a lot of exploration that was done on a prospect level basis in this area. And I mean, historically, the reason why these areas were targeted is because that Tulu Kapi mine, and Tulu Kapi has been known about for 20 plus years, right? So it's not a new discovery. It's been known about for an extended period of time. Now, the reason why these areas were prioritized is because they're very close to the Tulu Kapi area. They were historically drilled on the basis that they would become feedstock for that main Tulu Kapi concentrator. Now, what that means for us is that we've got a high level of information that's available, and we've got all the exploration data historically that supports the work that's been done there, that gives the company all the confidence that it needs that there is A, the right grade of mineralisation, B, it's shallow, C, metallurgically, it works well. We've got all the metallurgical data from the Tulu Kapi area there, so we know what those rocks, how they operate or how they behave under different processing techniques. And what it means for us is that modern drilling, so drilling is drilling, right? But when I say modern drilling, I mean looking at it from a different perspective, not just looking at it from drilling on straight strike and not looking to deviate from strike and step out to sort of start to build up, as I mentioned before, that 3D model, but also taking in multi-element assay analysis. That's really important because credits of other commodities, of other metals is important towards the economics, and it hasn't been looked at historically at the project. There's been a lot of trenching work done in some of these areas, limited drilling as a follow-up in some of these areas as well. So for the company, the idea of potentially reopening those trenches and resampling in those old trenches and then drilling underneath those trenches where it hasn't been drilled before, they're obvious targets for the company. And it's not just these three prospects. I mean, these three prospects run circa 9 kilometers along strike, right? As I mentioned before, they're still open in both directions. But you then look across to the west of the parallel structure, that Galiso trend, you've got another 9-10 kilometers of strike as well, mineralized, open in both directions. A limited follow-up work's been done again. The same is also true up in the north, and the same will be true in the central area. So Nejo really is one of those unique project areas, right? It's one of those projects that has got the appreciation of the historical work that's been done, but there's been that relative hiatus in exploration work where it hasn't been followed up. This is where Askari is able to then accelerate things. And this is how we make our name, right? Like, we're a junior exploration company. We make our name by exploring aggressively, defining the resources, developing the resources through feasibility studies and scoping studies and so forth, and then partnering up with somebody that's got the ability to then put these things into production. So this is how we're approaching this. This is what our strategy is all about. Our exploration strategy, it can be simple. And it can be simple because we've got so much exploration data available to us. It doesn't need to be complicated because the work has already been done historically. The grade of the gold is already known. It's been found. It's shallow, it's high grade, it's thick. We just need to expand upon what's been done and move it through into a resource phase. Once we're at that point, then we can start to apply economics and we can actually start to demonstrate the scale and the potential of these areas. And then, of course, outside of that, you've still got the area in that central license, and you've still got the copper/VMS targets up in the north as well. So this is very much, you could dissect this project to have 3 or 4 different campaigns running, all concurrent with each other, and then you'd be doing it some significant justice, and that's where we want to get to. That's what we want Nejo to emerge as. It's our flagship project. It's getting 99.9% of our time and attention. OIS is getting our attention as well because we've got local team already in place there, and it runs autonomously. We can afford to sort of throw ourselves into Nejo and take it as the primary focus for the company.
Yeah, perfect. No, I appreciate you answering my questions personally. Now, I'll probably just move it to the floor now. I've got a couple of questions in the chat here. Now, one of them was, can you tell investors anything about Askari's new Geo, who has joined the team?
Yeah, so I expect you're talking about Lachlan, perhaps Lachlan Reynolds.
I presume
Um,
so, yeah.
Yeah, so Lachlan, I've known Lachlan for a number of years, or probably 10 years now. Lachlan and I first met when he was working in Namibia on the copper belt just out of Windhoek, in fact. And he's a sub-Saharan African geologist. There's a lot of experience in not just copper, but also gold. He has got a lot of experience on that Arabian-Nubian Shield as well. So, I mean, that's fundamentally important for the company because he's got the intelligence, the intellect, I should say, to be able to identify prospects in areas that are high priority for the company. The role that Lachlan's playing with the company is very much a guiding role. He's very much oversight. So and the reason why I say is because we've got Surafel, who is our general manager/senior geologist in Ethiopia. And we've also got 2 other consulting geologists on the team as well. So we have got the makeup of an in-country team where we're able to accelerate and mobilize into the field quickly. And we've got the benefit of Lachlan's knowledge and experience in terms of designing the campaigns and analyzing and understanding the exploration results as well. So that's where it's been really important for the company, making sure that we've got the right technical power inside the company to be able to move confidently with these campaigns as well.
Yep. Yeah, of course. Now, another question there was how long will the funds raised last, and how many rigs will be mobilized eventually at the Nejo and Qatar projects?
So we'll initially only be mobilizing 1 rig as part of the drilling in November, December this year. But when we get those results back, the follow-up drilling will likely comprise of 2 rigs, and one of them will more than likely be a diamond rig, whilst the RC rig continues to chug away on some of the other prospects as well. So as far as how long will the money last, it really depends on how quickly we move with our exploration. We would like to move quickly with the exploration, but we're moving on the basis that, as I said before, we're operating within a known area of information. And the understanding is that these exploration results will certainly yield an ability to raise further capital for the company at much higher prices as well.
Yeah. Okay. Just another one from Ben here. He said, can investors hear affirmation that all necessary permits/licenses have been received to pursue this exploration campaign?
Yeah, so we absolutely have. So, I mean, the critical meeting that we held in the recent times was with the OMDA, the Oromia Mineral Development Authority. They are because this project is in the Oromia Benishigal region, They are the primary administrative office that governs not approvals as such, but governs administrative support for the projects. And this is where it's been fundamental for the company to demonstrate who is Askari, who are we as major shareholders, as directors of the company, what view are we looking to take on the project, and historically, right, they want to ensure that it's not going to be a quick, oh, let's hold it for 6 months, 12 months and flip it. The fact that we were able to demonstrate and take them through an exploration strategy which spans 3 years gave them great comfort that we are serious about what it is that we're doing, right? We've been able to come away from these meetings with all the approvals that are necessary. The licenses, they're fresh renewals. They're good for 3 years. They've been issued by the Federal Mines Minister. They are legally validly held by Hong Kong. Hong Kong's the company that Askari has transacted with. So there's no approvals, no consents, nothing else is required. The only necessary approvals that are going to be needed is work visas. But work visas are very much a par for the course. I mean, we had to do the same thing in Ethiopia. If you're looking to bring geological teams outside from, sorry, Namibia, I mean to say, we've had to do the same thing. If you're looking to bring out like geological teams or labor from other jurisdictions, other countries, you've got to saddle them with a work visa. The way that we approach these things is that you've got two primary geologists, which are typically expat. We then complement them and their resources with local geologists and local field labor. And we draw as much on from the local community as we possibly can, because of course that's respect, right? That's how you demonstrate a level of respect with the stakeholders and with the communities in which you operate. But the company is able to move forward confidently with everything that's got in place right now. We don't need to worry about anything as far as other approvals are concerned. As I said, outside of just making sure that we've got the work visas in place for the people that we bring into the site.
Yeah, awesome. Now, I know you mentioned you would ideally like to be moving quite aggressively, but just last question here. Well, what can investors expect to be achieved by year end?
Yeah, no, certainly that's a good question, right? So, I mean, in an ideal world, for me, what I would like to see obviously is not just this initial exploration campaign, so this 3-week campaign that starts on the 20th of this month, that's going ahead. The drilling, RC drilling, November, December, that'll go ahead. Whether we get the results before year end, that's the only question that I have over myself at the moment is whether or not we can, because we're looking at multi-element analysis, that definitely takes a lot longer than just simple fire assay if you're just looking for gold element. So there is a question mark over receipt of results. But outside of that, we also want to look at doing some additional infill and extensional trenching as well. Trenching's cheap. It's really easy to get the results there as well because it's what we've done in Namibia. We did it extremely successful in Namibia as well. The same thing will be taking place here in Ethiopia. You just trench along the width of the mineralized ore body and you sample within those trenches. They also then lead themselves up to being your priority drill target. So trenching is a cheap, very cost-efficient way of getting good information of fresh rock and then leading yourselves into drilling. So that's what I'm looking to achieve in these next 3 months. Initial exploration, drilling, and trenching. Come the turn of the new year, and I can't believe that we're saying this, but come 2026, we'll be looking at kickstarting off geophysical campaigns in the field as well. Identifying, again, as I said, additional targets that are along strike of the known targets, but that we can quickly identify without spending too much time. Like obviously you could identify these targets in the field, but it would be significantly longer timeframes. The geophysics just speeds that process up. So that's what I'll be looking to do in 2026. With the addition, of course, of mobilizing the diamond rig, having more RC drilling and more trenching. There is 12 months of the year where I could have exploration ongoing at this project. There's no shortage of work that can be done. For us, for our company, for Askari, we need to pull it down into priority target areas. And when I say priority target areas, I mean those areas which are the most advanced, where we know we're going to get the initial resource from. They become your initial areas of focus. The other areas, they have to run concurrent because you want to make sure that you got a good pipeline of targets maturing at the same time. But that exploration work, as I said, that'll run concurrent with the focus drilling at the Guji, Comta 1 and Comta 2 targets. The other exploration will be more drilling, but it'll also start with geophysics and a lot of trenching work as well.
Beautiful. Well, there you go. Bring on 2026, huh?
That's it.
Very good. Well, Gino, thanks again for coming. I think it's always a good webinar, and people that come along, we get a lot of good information out of this. So thanks everyone else who also joined. I'm sure we'll be chatting again, if not early next year, because it sounds like there's some pretty exciting news on the horizon there. So come along to the next one, everyone, and yeah, more than likely we'll have a bit of good news coming from Gino. So thank you again, and have a good rest of your day.
Perfect. Thanks very much, Luke. Pleasure.